Am I saying?
Welcome to Diverse Orange, our conversations about diversity here in Central Florida. My guest today is Maxine Sudarma. Hello, Maxine.
Hello, Terry. Nice to see you.
Yes. And Maxine, you are putting on a Lunar New Year event. But before we talk about that, let's find a little bit about you.
Okay.
I know you were born in California, I believe.
I was born and raised in California, Sacramento, the capital. My parents immigrated here in the 70s, but I won't share when I was born. Yeah, and we lived there until we moved here about 6 years ago.
And where did your parents come from?
Hong Kong. They're from Hong Kong. Yeah, so we speak Cantonese. Um, and we had Chinese restaurants growing up and a Japanese restaurant. And so I'm familiar with the food industry and all the hospitality and restaurant business there.
Did you grow up in a very Asian community?
Yes, we did. My parents immigrated here in the 70s and made sure that we uh, maintained our heritage and cultural experiences. And so I grew up going to Chinese school on Fridays, and my parents were very involved in the Asian community, Chinese community more so. My dad hosts ballroom dancing events for the Chinese community, and my mom and dad sing together, and so Chinese opera. And so they are very in tune with uh, bringing me and my sister up in that.
And what was your response to their eagerness for you to keep in that culture? Did you embrace that or did you rebel against that?
Oh yeah. So we went to mainly Caucasian schools growing up, a private Catholic school, and um, so I think finding community in outside of school was a big deal to them. And so we had our Asian groups and going camping and dinners. So we maintained that. And so here, moving here for my children, actually, I have also continued to seek and find that for them as well. Representation and having just sweet Asian American friends community. We don't have family here, so I've been trying to create that for them growing up for
So
their.
you're saying that in your school life, you were in not a very Asian community, it was mixed or Anglo folks.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And
Okay.
so my parents made sure that we had our Chinese kind of experiences or our Chinese, how do I say, like just learning about our heritage in other
Sure.
ways. Yeah.
Did any of your Anglo school kids become friends outside of school?
They did. They were. I mainly I was quite the introvert actually growing up. And so going back home, our school was about 20 minutes away from where we lived. So when we
Mm,
went back home, we just played with the neighbors and it was just with family. Yeah, me and
I
my
see.
sister. Yeah.
And you are married and have a couple kids. Did you meet your husband in California?
I did. I met him in California and we got married there as well and had kids. All my kids are actually, I have three, two boys and a girl, and they were all born and raised, or they were all born in Sacramento. And then we brought them over when my youngest was 2 months. I've never set foot in Florida, and we came here for my husband's work. Yeah.
And is your husband of Asian heritage as well?
He is. He's full Chinese. His parents are from Indonesia. So
Okay.
we say Indo Chinese.
So what was it like coming to Florida?
It was okay. We moved the day before Hurricane Matthew, so that was quite the welcome. Our movers literally moved us in and then said, "We gotta go. We gotta evacuate." And we said, "Okay, all right, go." And then we went hunting. Of course, there was no bread or water, so it's quite the experience there. And then over time, I got to know the area and the people. I got to know my neighbors first. They're right there, and they were trying to help us out, figure out the hurricane situation and make sure we were safe. Um, but it was a culture shock to me actually coming here. I don't know if it's because we came from California straight to like Lake Nona, but I moved here and yeah, it was a culture shock. And so I think it took time to get to know and find your community. But we came here for my husband's work. So it was a 2-year commitment, but we decided to stay longer. Within those 2 years, we found great community, our neighbors, the church, and a good school for our kids. And so we decided to stay and raise them here. And so within that time, I had a heart and desire to shape and create the Asian American culture here and wanting to create more experiences for them just because I saw the lack of it 6 years ago. And now there's a lot more coming up and coming. So,
Well, in the last few years, there have been, unfortunately, times when people of Asian heritage have
mm.
had issues with some of our more bigoted or xenophobic people. Have you experienced any of that?
I haven't full on had racist comments, but there's a lot of microaggressions that we've experienced here. Um, the first thing that happened to us was when my son went to school with chow mein and the kid said, "What are you eating? Is that hair? Oh, that's so gross." And so he had to explain that. He actually came home crying, and he wouldn't share why he was crying. Um, we asked, and he eventually said, "Mom, can you buy me something called Lunchables?" And I was like, "Oh, we're getting there." I said, "Oh, why is that? Why didn't you want to eat your lunch?" And he said, "Well, someone was making fun of me and asked if I was eating hair." And I said, "Oh, okay, you know, and it really hurt just to hear that. And so we kind of guided him, talked to him about that and our culture and heritage. And I actually bought a Lunchables for him to try at home first, and he did not like it at all. And so he's like, "I want my chow mein and fried rice back." So a lot of it is education, and so now the school we go to, actually, all of them are like, "Oh, you have the best lunch and the best food." They can smell it, because we put it in a hot container. And so that, yeah, over time it's gotten better. But yeah, just experiencing those microaggressions are hard, and a lot to explain to the children. I actually now, having guided my children, the things that are being said to them are triggering things that happened in my childhood, but I didn't know it at the time, Terry. I didn't know those were called microaggressions at all. We weren't processed growing up. We didn't know how to explain it to my parents. Um, and then for my kids, those comments like, "Oh, do you know how Chinese people get their name?" And they're like, "How?" They throw utensils down the stairs, and whatever sound it makes is the name. And I haven't heard that one before, actually. And yeah, yeah. And so we had to talk about that as well. And it's just hard. It's hard. And so I think creating these now Asian American platforms and these experiences for this next generation, my heart and desire is really to help the next generation rise up, and also to educate the children and the teens and the college students that are up and coming, and having them have a voice. They have a voice. You have a voice. It's having the platform to share it. So
Yeah.
creating that for the students, and people who are just yearning for that now, especially these last few years with COVID and everything, and especially recently what just happened. Um, Teaching the community about support and educating them and the beauty of the culture itself.
So having a lunar New Year celebration
Yeah.
is as much for helping the kids of folks from Asian heritage
Right.
as it is about introducing other people in the community to the traditions of Asian heritage and culture.
Yes, totally. I love it. My heart and desire is there, and I love being able to help shape and create the experience of it. And actually, uh, the Lunar New Year, actually, Chinese usually celebrate on their own, Vietnamese celebrate on their own, and then you have the Koreans that have their thing too. And so I'm like, why don't we come all together? Why don't we bring all of us together? We're celebrating the same holiday. Let's come together. And it is so beautiful. I love it so much, seeing all the foods and the performances, and the students all come and see that. I've spoken at a high school, and a lot of them have said, we love our Asian American club coming together to play games and eat food, but we have no platform, or we don't know any community events that are Asian American centered to be able to come and serve and help. So I brought all of them together where they're coming to come and serve at the events. And so you'll
Great.
see them. Yeah, you'll
And
see them.
that's a Lake Nona event.
It
And
is.
certainly
It
folks
is.
can
Like, no,
look on the fusionfest.org site, and there's listings of numerous um, Lunar New Year events as well.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
this
there's
is
actually Fusion Fest is creating the first time ever the Lunar New Year Art Gallery. And so that's a whole nother thing, is create the platform for artists to come and display their work and show their work as well. Yeah.
great. Well, it's great talking to you, Maxine. Thank you for making Central Florida your home. I hope you are beginning to feel like this. You are a Central Floridian
It is. It is.
with an Asian background, and
Thank you so much, Jerry.
keep up the good work of sharing your culture. We are a much richer community because of the many cultures that we have here. Thank you, and thank you all for watching this issue of Diverse Orange.
Thank you.